Facts on the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel it's a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in November 5th, 2021, and I'm going all in on Airbnb and Nvda. Okay, I'm not going to go like that crazy, but I really like what I saw with them today. I'm going to be setting up some trades with it, and now it's Thursday. We got a lot this week. I'm going to go over everything that happened, but I do want to focus on a lot of trades. We even got clapped on one trade, so I think it gives a really good learning experience, but we have a ton of trades to go over just over the last few days, but even the last month. I want to highlight some of it, and then now we could even see some of the bad trades today, the ones that we're holding, and then what to get out of tomorrow. The reason why I'm bringing up Airbnb and Nvda, I think they're both going to go crazy. There was a lot of option activity. We got Airbnb earnings after hours. It beat all expectations. They actually set a record earnings. Their guidance was a little bit decent there, and then you even had Expedia, and their earnings was good. So Airbnb rode the wave with booking this morning, but now at these levels, post earnings, if we get any upgrades, I'm going to be watching it. But if you were watching the option chain today, there was a lot of activity, and then Nvda went absolutely insane. I mean, it's borderline even gamma squeeze. It is really making that push at 1 trillion. So this is going to be a big one. We're going to have a Friday. You've been seeing a lot of trades here, so I think tomorrow is going to be interesting, and let's talk about some of the setups that we got. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes for open. It's the first link in the description, and it's pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free 99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/thestockmarket. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch us come to life, and yes, if you feel like you're just an island Chad. I know, I'm sorry I got it stuck in your head, but we are the place to be, and the most important thing you need to do, post or watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything. Post them below and source that info. Shout out to the Chad, and big shout out if you have been posting those plays. Y'all been killing it, baby, so keep it up. So right off the bat, I'm actually not going to get to the keys. I just want to show you some of these plays and just what happened today. So the news was very simple. Before we get to some of the earnings, the one thing that you did see today with like the dollar and the market, the dollar went up and a lot of things happened overseas. That was the United Kingdom, and they did not raise rates despite a lot of those expectations being there. So that was very dovish, but now it's having an effect on the dollar here. So coming into tomorrow, we'll watch the overall effect. But one thing I am looking for is what that dollar is going to do. But then everything else today, there wasn't too many headlines. There was the earnings. Uber, they had their first ever profit, EBITDA profit, and that was good, but their guidance really overshadowed it. That's why they kind of had the pop and lock there. Again, Airbnb just had record numbers. There was a couple more after hours. I think Peloton, they got absolutely destroyed there. They cut their guidance, and a lot of their other metrics didn't meet, and their costs went up, and that one wasn't good at all. And then there was Square, and they fell with some of their Bitcoin revenue actually declining. That was pretty much it. There was a couple of other headlines. I know like a Biden staffer, he got sick from the Scotland thing. There's like an NBA probe, and then a couple of other earnings out of like Arkite and all of that. We'll catch on those in the morning, but overall tomorrow, the real question is, do we continue this little mini squeeze that we got here, or do things turn around? And then the individual names. So even coming into tomorrow, the main plays, before I show you the plays that I made today, because there's some active ones that I'm going to be looking for either tomorrow or even coming into next week. If you've been watching how we've been doing some of these trades, they're not always a day trade. Sometimes we've held them for a couple of days there and let them do their thing. That's why we've been getting time. But Airbnb is the first one I'm going to be watching in the morning, and I'm expecting a couple things. If you remember their earnings, they had a similar response where they didn't really move much, but then in the morning they got a couple of upgrades and they had a big pop. The next day it kind of continued, and then they fell for a little bit, and then it had the other continuation. So this is what I'm going to be watching for tomorrow. But one thing I really do think it's going to look like for the morning trade, and if you guys were watching, we did one today on Qualcomm and you could see it. This is what I'm going to be watching for Airbnb tomorrow. It's probably going to gap up a little bit. If it doesn't, it'll probably make this even easier. But if it does, I'd look for either the immediate sell-off and then there's a pop, and then If it fails that pop, it's usually probably going to stay subdued the rest of the day. Otherwise, if it does make that second pop after that first like 30 minutes or an hour or so, then you could kind of get the direction of the stock there. So that's what I'm looking for. You're either going to get a multi-day run with Airbnb, or we're going to get one of these gap up, stay elevated, and then it'll chill, and then that's where the next run will come in. And now keep that in mind for how you're going to be positioning. So I'm still holding all of my plays. What we did do today is we got rid of those Airbnb contracts. I still have those leaps that we've been talking about. These are up. They're probably going to do good tomorrow, and then we are definitely not touching our Airbnb in the long term. So I have those trades, but the other one I had on the Robinhood, I sold out of all of those today. Those were the first initial pre-earnings run-up play, but I got out of the first set this morning at around 4:30, and here they are on the Robinhood. It doesn't show the chart anymore, but we had 5 of these, and this was up like 30% or 20% at the time. I got to sell 4 out of 5 for $17.20, and this was early in the morning within like the first 20 minutes, so I got the first run up there on the contracts, made them free. I actually got a $200 profit. We spent $1,500 for all 5, and then I held the final contract, and then I got rid of that when they're at close for $550. So we netted like $700 off the trade, still holding the other ones. But now coming into tomorrow, I'm giving you those expectations because essentially I'm expecting a lot of volatility here, and I'm going to look to double dip as well as ride out the other ones. So that's going to be the first one I'm going to be watching. And then Nvda, depending on how this plays out, I just think you're getting a crazy amount of volatility on this. It's looking like a Tesla gamma squeeze of some sorts, and honestly, they're coming close to $1 trillion market cap here. So I think for the next like 2 days or even on the short term, this is one I'm going to be watching that's going to go crazy tomorrow. So coming into the plays that I made today here, these are a lot that we did. So I started off the morning with the Qualcomm trade. I waited about 7 minutes. So that's what we were showing there earlier. I waited for that drop because it gapped up even higher at like 13% or something. But right here was the 37 mark. The contracts really got to bottom out. And this is a strategy you've seen us do here, but we also talked about it here today just in general of you want to try to get the contracts a little bit cheaper. You don't want to end up spending too much. But in this case, these ones were elevated, so I just try to wait in the morning to kind of get that shake off. So that's kind of what happened. They opened up at like $250 at one point, or in the high $200. So waited, got it in at like 160 there. It had its little bounce to like 240, I think, or like 220. It was about like 30 or so percent. So 230 is where we got out. Took about like 10, 11 minutes there. A quick bounce on it. I didn't get back in. You can see those contracts ended up holding up. So that continuation play was there, but that was the first one. And then Etsy, they were looking good. They started to run up throughout the day. It was early in the morning here. Still within the first 20 minutes. They're already up like 10, 12%. I thought it'd be a decent momentum play, and it just really kept going up there. But I was a little bit hesitant. The momentum that I liked and didn't like with it was that Etsy, they had bad earnings, if you remember. So they were down post-market, and they were down a lot, and it had a really big move here in the pre-market. So this is where I was like, interesting. It gained some steam. It was probably running off good news. So I definitely thought that killed some contract premium there. I got those, and those ones went up about like 50%, but we kept this one decently small. I got 5 of the 3:30 November calls. They went up to around 90 cents. I sold out most of them at 90, and then the other ones got filled at 80. So then those were 2 quick day trades to start off the day, and then I sold out of Intel. Those are the ones from yesterday. They were up like 5%. It was like $5 or something. And even though all of the chips were moving, they weren't doing much. I should have honestly put the money in Nvda. That would have been a very good move here, but got out of these. I didn't think they were going to do much. And then our Ubers, this was the second set we had. Remember, we had those Januaries on the Robinhood account. This was the first ever Uber play that I started with. We grabbed these October 18th. We said we want to get early on the pre-earnings run-up. Uber was looking decent. Remember, I fell on these contracts, so then I averaged down to these December ones. Then we were down on these ones, and then we took advantage yesterday of the Januaries. We already flipped out of those. So this was the second average. These were up 72% or like 77 today. So I said that was a good enough gain here. I'm going to sell out of this one. And then you see we held through the earnings. I just held the original play. That was 190 and kind of got me in the middle, and it ended up closing down 5% around break even. So you can see a little bit of the strategy and approach to that, but then we got out of that play, and then I opened a trade on Open Door. It was down to 10% at close, but only like $30, $300 on here for the December 35 calls. This one got hyped hyped. They even got some news here today, but they fell with Zillow on the whole iBuying stuff. They're pretty much an iBuying company, but believe it or not, they actually do more business than Zillow did. So they're a little better on it. The CEO did make a comment today, but they were able to rebound. And this one is kind of like a hype play in general. We've seen it get hyped. It was one of the Chamath SPACs back in the day there. So I think it could have a lot of momentum here. You got a little bit of the buy the dip effect from Zillow. So thought it was decent, but I only put $300. And that was because I was contemplating this Amazon play before. So I said, if I'm going to buy something hyped, I'm going to spend a little less money there. So even though we're down on it like 10%, you're seeing like $30. And with some of the other trades that we've made this week, even if we do totally get clapped, it's not like we're scaling into hype plays and then going to get the rug pulled on us. So that's kind of the approach to this. A little bit of exposure, but not really too confident in it. But we're going to be riding those out. That play's open. And then I made a play on Amazon today. I got a 31.55 put for December. Spent $2,190 for it. So a little expensive. And even here at close, you could even see when I bought it, right after I bought it, this stock ripped, but only down $137, 6%. So this one is a little bit larger of a trade here. But my logic here with Amazon, they've been going up the last 3 days. Remember, their earnings wasn't too hot, but they kind of had a positive continuation move. But like I was saying, the most immediate moves that I got after Powell, I just wasn't buying it, and I'm kind of expecting the opposite. So I also do have a lot of call plays that we've been flipping, and some of them that are still open. So I'm like, well, I got a lot of exposure to the upside. Let's see if we could go for the downside. Again, holiday expectations weren't that good for Amazon and a lot of companies. So I think they got a couple things working against them. My option for it isn't loading up here, but if you go look at these options, you'll see what I'm talking about. Most of them on the put side, they were down like 40 or 50% today. They really got a premium crush on there. So this was part of the strategy that I talked about here today, because at the very least, I'm buying it at the bottom. So even if I'm trying to get a smaller gain from it, I didn't buy into the momentum or hype or anything like that. It wasn't even pre-earnings, it's post-earnings, and we got it at a lower price. I can lose even more, and it's still a big risk, but like you even saw, again, when I bought the play at like 11.39, if you come to the chart, you'll see it here. It was like right here, and then this stock went up like another $50. You would think a option like that would get squashed, but I only went down $100 there. And even when the stock started going, at one point I was even break even with the stock higher there. So there's big spreads. This one's a little bit more risky there, but gonna watch out for that one. And then Dollar Tree, this is the one we got clapped on, and I kept it a little bit smaller as a decent size on here, but they had news that somebody was building a stake, an activist investor, and then it had a huge pop, and then this thing absolutely cratered. I honestly have not seen anything like it, just because it was a very, very interesting move. And even when you look at the daily, they've had an epic continuation from the run-up earlier. So it looks like that just created a sell the news event, and it just kind of cratered into something else. So I took a 50% loss on it. That one, I got suckered in on the hype. It looked like I snaked the chain for a little bit, but I was the one who ended up getting snaked. I was watching them. We hit the premium, but those are down 50%. So I'm going to be riding them out. I was going to take a stop out down like 100 or so, but then it just got even worse. So I said, all right, well, we'll ride it out. We at least have a little bit of time. You've seen how we've done some average downs like the Uber and all that, but just keep my eye on it for the most part, though. That was definitely a big L, and the thing to learn from it compared to some of the other plays here where it wasn't quicker, or I wasn't trying to get little factors in my advantage. And we're going to go through some of the other trades and you'll see what I'm talking about. But this one was more just rushed off of the news as opposed to playing a catalyst and kind of having a floor to the trade. This one was already post earnings. There was the news. That's why the option was you were able to spend a lot, and it was able to go down a lot in a day. We've had better trades, even like the Clorox. I'm down like 30-40% on that, but I like that trade more because there's more positive factors. Even if I wanted to average down, there is more time. That one's a better play than this one, where this one was just a news hype. You're either going to hit it or you're not, and in this case, we did not. So those are all of the plays that we have, and we still do have a lot of plays that are open. So this is why I want to just go over all of the trades really for the last like 30 days or so you could see. And that's just on this account. We have had the Robinhood, like you saw with some of those Ubers. We did flip out of that one Nvda on the Robinhood, and then that Airbnb today, as well as those Coinbases, and then those JP Morgans. And then other than that, they've all been executed on here. So looking at it from 30 days, I mean, let's just see where we were. I mean, October 6th, that was that Macy's call that we did. So you'll see the sell eventually up here. I guess we made half of them free, sold 2 of them at 77. Then we bought those Tesla 900s. Remember, we were 1 week too early before the run. So we missed out on that one, actually, believe it or not. Then we made that pins play. We only got one play in the PayPal news. I think That one ended up being a dud. Then we did a coin daily here, and this was after we were riding up the other ones on the other account there. So this one ended up losing. That was a Friday play. Then we grabbed a FINA after hours. That was the bio news. I bought 100 shares, and that was Friday. Then we came into the next week. It was Facebook earnings. We tried the Facebook's earnings run-up play. Remember, we bought it in the morning, and then we waited here till close. You could see the time. Let me make it a little bigger. But we bought them in the morning. The premiums ended up not going up. Actually sold those for a loss. Some of you guys were surprised about that. But then the next day in the morning, we went for the pre-earnings run-up there on Microsoft. Got 10 of them there at 35 cents. And then coming into close, we're able to sell out some of them for a premium. I think we sold a little bit more than half. Hit the earnings. Ended up selling 4 out at 85 cents. And then later that day, we sold the last one out at $2. Then we started building our AMD position. This was getting ready, but this was a post-earnings, I believe. So this one actually wasn't too crazy, and I think we made another trade after that. And then we started our Apple pre-earnings trade. We grabbed those ones closer to the money, and then we got the Ford post-earnings play, and they got the dividend, and then Merck post-dividend as well. We had those other ones, that Merck one we had on the Robinhood account, but then we decided to play the earnings. Remember, I flipped out of those for 50%. Then we held the Ford and Apples for swings. Then we got that Tesla play. That was the 1250 weekly. I think it was that in the money now at this point, but we bought that for 640. Then we bought more AMDs. Remember, we averaged down, so we got that first one. That one went down, and then we used that as a place marker. And then I grabbed more with more time at the 140 strike. Those were closer to the money and cost more. Then we did that Q scalar flip. You remember last week we got a 132 to 180. Then we sold out of the Tesla for 765 after buying for 5. Then there was an AMC day trade that we did. That was like a small 10-15% gain. Then there was the LYV and the LVS. We bought this. Remember, we got pretty much clapped on it. This one was a pre-earnings run-up play. LVS was the news and post-earnings. So that one was actually very interesting. Remember, I was down on that one 50% like the Dollar Trees. And then coming into the weekend now, that was the start of this week. We started out with the Roblox there for the pre-earnings run-up. I sold those remaining Macy's from the beginning of the month for 84 cents. Remember, they were already free. And hopefully at this point, since we do got a couple of trades to go over, but we have covered a lot of them, I'm trying to give you guys the quick rundown. Yeah, you're able to see, which one's a win or loss. I want you to see at the end of this, which ones we're holding. You get to see the trades that are open, but ultimately notice the reasons why. I mean, all of these are pretty much fueled by earnings and playing the pre-earnings and post-earnings continuations and just kind of getting in tune with that to take advantage of these opportunities. So coming to the next play, we did that Uber play. That's the ones that we sold out of today. And then those LYVs, those went up like 20%. Got the nice small gain. We were keeping it small. Then the LVSs, those came back up to break even. I think I took like a 1 or 5 cent loss on it. Those ones actually ended up going up, I think 100%, but then we sold the Ford. That was like 50% or so. So remember, we bought that about a week or two earlier. I went to Clorox, and now these ones still open on them, and these are down 40%. Then I did that Apple trade. This was just the other day or 2 days ago. We flipped out of that one. Then we sold those other AMDs, the December ones. That one was the 80% profit there. That one was nice. Then we bought the DoorDash pre-earnings run-up play. Sold out of some of those apples that we had. That was the quick day trade there. And then I did a Netflix trade for a nice 20%. Then we had the whole Sava saga. Then we did those Ubers that we were able to sell the day before earnings. I started the Lucid. I'm still in these, and these ones are up 15% or so by today. Then that Intel play that we cut out of. Then we sold out of the Dash for the earnings run-up. That was like 20-30%. Then you got the Uber one. That one was 60% from the night before. Then I sold those other free November AMDs from way back, if you remember. That was at the beginning of the month, and then opened up the Boeing play, still in this one. And these ones are actually barely up 1%. Sold out the Afina for 10%. That one was at the beginning of the month. This was just the old leap, and I got rid of that. Then we did the Bank of America flip for Powell yesterday. Got the JP Morgan. I flipped out of this. I'm still down on the other one on the Robinhood. And then all of the other trades that you got today. And then the Dollar Tree, the one that we really took the biggest loss on. I mean, the other ones that were down now, and you're seeing there, all of these names should be familiar when we're going to these. These are really the last trades that we made in the last 30 days. The Dollar Tree is still open. This one is pretty much our biggest loss. We still got the Amazon open for today. Other than that, the Clorox down 40%. That one was pretty bad. And then you can see that Boeing and everything else, they're either still holding up or they kind of moved a little. I'm trying to think. The Roblox was the only other one, but that was down. That was down 30% 1% earlier today, and then it came up to up 16. So hopefully you can learn something from this. We've been doing the strategy a lot differently lately, where I'm just, again, being more diligent to take the profits, lowering the expectations. A lot of these ended up running here, but just making it a point to just secure the profits and then keep the wins rolling from there. So these are the plays I'm holding coming into tomorrow. I'm going to be looking at a lot of these, but tomorrow I really want to just focus on Airbnb and Nvda. So there is a couple of other things I will be watching. Again, Boeing, Qualcomm. Qualcomm could be an interesting one. Watch Pinterest in the morning for a post-earnings continuation. I think they did actually pretty decent there, so keep your eye out for them. And then Datadog, this was a really big runner. I think that one's going to be exciting. And then Roblox as well. This one, I may even want to add more to this. It's really going to depend. If those contracts go negative again, I probably will, but their earnings is next week. If it does start to gas up here, that could be a little bit exciting, so watch out for them. Then Peloton on the post on the downside, that's probably going to be a big play. And then Uber, we are going to see how these play out. I think this one's going to be a delayed earnings continuation, but it might end up being good, so watch out for them. And then finally with TLT and the dollar, I think the TLT is probably going to just stay within this range, and I think it's making that clear, and we're going to get a lot of other movements here. But I think the real thing is, and this one I might make a play on it, but short-term dollar strength, keyword short-term. I think we're about to see a new high on the dollar, how everything played out. It looks like it's going to strengthen the dollar and make everybody else a little bit worrisome, or at least that's what the UK and the Australia stuff showed. So we might be able to get a cool day trade on there, but I'm going to be watching that, so I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate, healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shine. I need you to remember, ask yourself, baby, whose presence are you in? But the code loves you. I love you. And we'll see you in the morning. Let's go.